1:03 in the afternoon of October 12th of the year 2022. We're reconvening the City of Fitchburg Board of Review. At this point, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll to make sure we have a quorum?
Chair Couliard.
Here.
Rich Tate.
Here.
Sean Paff. Andrew Slager.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Excellent. Meeting minutes from our last meeting of October 7th. As always, they are in excellent shape, so I have a motion to accept the minutes as presented.
Move to approve minutes.
I will second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Against? Vote to accept the minutes as presented. Our agenda this afternoon has 5 items on it of board action, and we've been asked to reconsider the order in which they have been listed. And the one that would be changed from the current order of the agenda would be item 5A, reconsider request of waiver for Hy-Vee at 2920 Fisher-Rona Road. Can I have a motion that we amend our agenda to move this to the top of the agenda so that this can be taken care of expeditiously and we can move this on to the next level?
I will make that motion to move agenda item 5A to the top of the agenda.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Let the record note it's unanimous. So what is agenda item 5A? The materials are at the back of the packet that's been prepared for us by the clerk. A little background on this, I got a phone call last week from our city attorney, and in our discussion, there's litigation pending with Hy-Vee for prior years, and they wanted to make sure that there was continuation in that court case. And I told her I would not do anything or consider anything without an amended objection form being filed. The fact that we've been in session so long allowed them an opportunity to do that. It's been reviewed by all parties, and it is now considered to be an acceptable objection. So we have to go back to what we did in our first meeting, which was to deny their appeal and review this form and then make sure that we can handle it properly and then look at the waiver request that's attached to it. So first thing we need to do is open this up for reconsideration based on our original decision at our first meeting, whenever that was. Remember the exact date? August 30th.
August 30th, I believe.
Okay. So I'll make a motion, we reconsider the objection form that was submitted by representatives for Hy-Vee. Mr. Ebbett is here today, their attorney. At the time, we concluded that there was missing new construction information as well as information in section 4D, which was on the appraisals of the property.
Do you need a second to your motion?
Yes.
I'll second the motion.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Hopefully, my discussion is enough. So we have in front of us an objection form that has been amended, and the materials in the letter that has been presented have been stated that they've been sent to the city and reviewed by the assessor and the clerk, the city's attorney, so that they meet the requirements of the objection form being complete.
I have a quick question for you, Mr. Chair, for the Attorney Seibel or our City Attorney Sussman. This is only admissible or allowed in this time frame because this committee's had to go on for quite some time.
That's correct. If we had adjourned, sign, and die, this would not be happening.
So does this set a precedent for letting other folks come in, or does this?
Well, we have to follow the guidance of our attorney, and that's what we're doing. Valerie is with us, in our discussion, she felt this was a reasonable approach to follow, so that's why it's back in front of the board.
So we're not opening up the floodgates here.
We're not opening up the floodgates.
And if I may, Mr. Chair, I guess I would just point out that this is a joint request coming both from the objector and the city assessor and the attorney representing the city assessor. So I think under the circumstances, given that this board is still in session and that there is a joint request, I think it's certainly appropriate to grant it.
What happens if this is approved by this committee? What happens to this then?
Well, the request is that it be moved to circuit court,
Okay, so
In
we won't
conjunction-
see this action.
right,
Okay,
in conjunction with the pending litigation that's currently in court.
and that's fine with the taxpayer's representative.
It is. Thank you.
We
And
have,
if I might just mention too, this is Amy Seibel speaking, is that on the original objection form, they did not list the amount of the appraised values. However, the city already did have copies of those appraisals. And so it was a minor discrepancy because we already had those appraisals that were submitted in the course of the litigation.
that's great, but we're working as an independent body, and if they're not here when we review the objection form, it's not complete. We're only doing this because the city attorney, in discussion with the taxpayer's representative, and because this case is in front of the board and is still open, is reviewing it. I don't care what they have in the city assessor's hands, it's not on the objection form, it's not complete. If they hadn't done this, we would say, sorry, you're out of luck, your appeal is denied. But because we're in session, and they have done it, and we've reviewed it with the city attorney, and she feels it's reasonable, we will continue and we'll take their action as part of the board's consideration. So,
We have a motion and a second, so we're,
so we have a motion and a second. Before we do this, there's one thing I'm going to step back. The attorney is here. It's his letter. I'd like to have him sworn in so that he can confirm that this is the correct information that we're considering, and that he's in agreement with the decision that's been made by the assessor and the assessor's attorney, and us in conjunction with the city attorney. So, sir, would you please stand so we can swear you in?
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you shall give in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Would you state your name for the record, please?
Jack Ebbett.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. Is your microphone on?
Jack Ebbett.
Thank you, Mr. Ebbett. I have in front of me a letter dated October 10th of the year 2022, regarding the Hy-Vee objection form. Is this your letter?
It is.
And is the information submitted in this letter requiring that you complete an amended objection form accurate? in
Yes.
What you've submitted?
Yes.
Are there any changes or additions you'd like to make to this in front of the board?
To the letter, sir?
Yes.
No, nothing.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure we had you on the record as being present, because it's based on sworn oral testimony that we're reconsidering this. So we have a motion, we have a second to accept the objection form as submitted. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Hearing none, we'll accept the objection form as, the amended objection form as submitted. Second thing along with this is the waiver request. Since the original objection was denied, we didn't take the next step of doing the waiver. As I look at this, I want to make sure that all parties are in agreement, so I'm going to address the assessor. Madam Assessor, have you reviewed this, and are you in agreement that the waiver should be signed?
Yes, I am.
Okay? And this is based on advice of your attorney?
Correct.
Any questions of the assessor as to why this is happening?
No.
Okay, hearing none, I'll ascertain a motion that we waive this to circuit court, to the next level of appeal. I'm not sure if it's circuit court, but I'm assuming it is. And we will take action on this waiver so that it can be handled in the next level of review.
I'll make a motion that this action be moved on to the next level, circuit court.
Okay,
We want to identify the parcel. And,
Yes. motion includes Hy-Vee Inc., 2920 Fitchburg Road, parcel 060907200015-2.
Excellent. So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Decision is approved, and I will sign the waiver. So this can go to circuit court. Okay. Thank you. With that, I'd like to say thank you, Mr. Ebbett, for joining us this afternoon. And hopefully, as you work with the city and their representatives, we can get this case settled to keep the process moving so we can finish that 22 tax roll.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Moving back on our agenda, to agenda item 4. 4A is Bowman Farms subpoena compliance review. Madam Assessor, do you have an update on that for us?
Yes, so, under 4A, the Bowman Farms, 2932 Fish Hatchery Road, parcel 0609-031-88152. On that, after reviewing the additional subpoenaed information, we have the new information sheds light on the subject matter for the valuation, and so we have written a stipulation with Bowman Farms to request the board to amend the assessment, from land 1645700, improvements 575,200, for a total of $2,220,900 was the original assessment. And the amended assessment would be land 1645700. The land value is not changing. The improvement portion would be 354,300 for a total of $2 million. And so we would ask that the board amend the assessment to $2 million for this property. And both Attorney Seibel and it looks like Don Millis have signed this. Don Millis is the agent, one of the agents for Reinhardt Bonner Van Duren, the attorneys representing Bowman Farms.
Okay, so we have a stipulated agreement to value,
Correct.
and all parties are in agreement with that. So,
Can we ask just a question on that, or do you want a
well,
motion?
why don't you present us with the stipulation so we can review it?
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you. Excuse me.
Along with the
Reach out to Valerie so that, just want to make sure, have you reviewed this, Valerie? The stipulation from Bowman?
I have not, but it is my understanding that the objector and the city have reached an agreement as to the stipulated value.
Okay.
Is this the parcel, Amy, that the old Stop and Go was at?
Yes, this is the old Stop and Go. It still has the Pizza Extreme, the laundromat in it.
And
The
American
the
Family.
Pancake Cafe that went out of business, so they moved in and moved out. They weren't in
The
very
American
long.
Family Agency still up there?
I'm not positive if he's still there or not. But, yeah, so it is a property in transition. They had removed the pumps and closed the convenience store. And then we did ask for additional information pertaining to an offer of purchase at the last meeting. And we did receive that information, and it's our opinion that that information sheds light on this value. And that's why we
Oh.
are altering the value or requesting that the value be changed to $2 million.
Could you just repeat what you just said?
So we
I'm sorry,
did.
I interrupted him, and he's,
Nope, that's okay. At the last meeting, there was some, when we reviewed the additional subpoenaed information, there was, where I believe there was an offer in a form made between a couple parties and Mr. Bowman. And at that time, the attorney did not know of any offer, but he went back to his client, and they did supply us with information of a draft. And that information, it is our opinion, sheds light on this value to make that change based off of that additional information.
okay. So to be clear, we're asking to have this not waived, but to be accepted as a stipulated value. The value will be then entered into the roll. The roll will be changed based on our decision this afternoon.
Correct. I am not able to make a change at this time because I've signed the affidavit. Only the board can make a valuation change at this point in time. By doing this, the board would agree to change the value to the stipulated value, correct it on the roll, and then we would ask, in the stipulation, it still asks that they still retain that right to waive to circuit court. So the stipulation would not only alter the value, but it still would retain their right to waive, if you agree to the waiver, then to waive that, which would expedite the process. So you would not have to hear the case. You would just make the agreement to stipulate and alter that value, and then basically you're waiving it on to circuit court, if they so choose to go to circuit court then.
Is we do that, and we approve this based on your professional recommendation and the attorneys, and we still give them the right to go to circuit court. Do we have to pay for, the city have to pay for attorneys if this goes to circuit court?
Yes, so if you waive it, then they have 60 days to file. So they're going to decide whether they go to circuit court or not. If you do not waive it, then technically they would have a hearing. Then you would hear the case, and depending on what that outcome would be, then you would hear it, but then that gives, they have to file longer. I think it's 90 days then. So basically, if they're choosing to file one way or the other, it just expedites that filing process. So the city does have to pay no matter which way if they choose to file
It
in
just
circuit
seems a
court.
little bit, for the taxpayer, a little bit, but I understand the process, but doesn't leave us with many options, to be honest with you. But anyway, okay. I'm glad to see this, Amy, because you did perk my interest when you said that there's potential of a offer, blah, blah, blah. Not that it matters in my factoring, but just that property is just ripe. You know what I mean? I have the word ripe. I mean, everything's happening along Fishhatchee Road. So, Mr. Chair, if you're willing to entertain it, I will offer a motion for this body, item 4A, Bowman Farms, 2932 Fishhatchee Road, parcel dash, or pound 0609-031-8815-2, to accept the $2 million amount that has been agreed to by the taxpayer's representative and our city assessing department.
Okay, before we ask for a second, since there's only one copy of this,
Here,
I want to make sure, does any of the board members have any questions?
Amy explained it very well.
Just want everybody to have a good understanding of what's happening, so give Andrew a couple seconds to take a look at it.
No, I wrote what she was saying.
Yeah, I'm good with that. I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, so we've accepted the revised assessed value. We also then have to look at the waiver as a separate action of the board. So along with that, we've had a request to waive this from the Board of Review to the next level if the taxpayer determines that the $2 million is still inappropriate. Do I have a motion on the waiver?
I'll move that we accept the waiver of the Board of Review hearing to Circuit Court for this property, Bowman Farms, 2932 Fish Hatchery Road, parcel 0609-031-8815-2.
We have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
And just so you know, the waiver, I didn't say that before, but there is a revised waiver attached. So because of that stipulation, the waiver on that, with that stipulation is adjusted based off of that stipulated value.
So what we have here has been, we just overruled this, or we superseded.
Correct. If you actually look on there, it'll have the original assessed value, and next to it, it says, I believe, something like a 20 Board of Review stipulated revised value, right next to that value on the waiver form.
Okay,
I don't see it.
we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of accepting the waiver, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
No,
You don't want to?
I don't want to accept the waiver, but
Okay,
motion passes.
motion passes.
Records.
Let the
one
record note one dissenting vote. And I did sign the newest form.
Got to deal with the city, and you want to go. Fight for the taxpayers still.
Another one? There's one attached. Yeah. Sign them both?
Second page as well on that. And that's the waiver, and then now you're actually signing the stipulation agreement. And this is just that in duplicate.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Moving right along. Next item on our agenda is item 4B. And 4C, both are Seminole Creek LLC, 2800, 2807 Mickelson Parkway, parcels 0609, 091, 9615-0, second parcel 0609, 091, 9645-4. Defer to the assessor. Has the subpoenas compliance been completed?
So they provided information last week, and we reviewed that. If you recall, last Friday, we went through and we asked to put this onto this agenda to allow additional time for me to confer with Attorney Seibel, and also since Craig was out of the office, so due to illness. So because of that, we've been looking at the numbers and crunching through them. We had, after reviewing the numbers, the assessor's office, reviewed these two, and based on the additional information that we subpoenaed, we would have asked the board to sign a stipulated value. We presented this value to Mr. Kohlenberg, but as I understand it, he has not, as of the last that we knew, he had not agreed to sign the stipulated value.
Okay, so the subpoena is now in compliance. You've gotten information that we requested and had a chance to review it. So we're at the next level, which is if Mr. Kohlenberg doesn't accept the stipulation, we are hearing.
Correct.
Okay, holding a hearing. Please let the record note that Mr. Kohlenberg is here, and since we're moving into this case, would you please stand and be sworn in?
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you shall give in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And please state your name for the record.
Gary Kohlenberg, 345 River Bluff Circle, Oconomowoc, Wisconsin.
Please swear in the assessor and her staff as well.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you shall give in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do. Amy Mercer, City Assessor.
I do as well. Craig Olson, Deputy City Assessor.
Bear with me, I'm just looking at the objection forms in the order we have and making sure we're looking at the right documents since there are numerous ones from this property owner. Of course, they're on the bottom. So, Madam Assessor, could you give us a brief overview as to the determination you made and the number you had generated as you reviewed the information that had been presented under the subpoena?
Okay. All right, so after we reviewed the additional information that was submitted, there's actually two parcels here. 2807 Mickelson Parkway, which is a 15-unit apartment building, parcel 0609-091-96150, and 2800 Mickelson Parkway, which is a 45-unit apartment building. It's 315 units, and that's parcel is 0609-091-96454. The original assessment for 2807 Mickelson Parkway was land to $225,000, improvements $2,056,600 for a total of $2,281,600. The original assessment for 2800 Mickelson Parkway, land $675,000, improvements $6,169,700 for a total of $6,844,700. After we looked at the additional information on this, and we received additional information on income and expense, when we first set this value, we set the value, we did not receive income and expense, so we set it using market and typical market rates. And so during open book, some additional information was provided. We looked at that information. It was our opinion it still supported our assessment. So during the subpoena process, we received more information. And that additional information then shed even more light on the subject. Some of the information between the two was still very, very cloudy on both of these, the remaining cases today. And that's why we like that additional information, because it's like, oh, this is where we should really be pulling expenses from or income from. So with that additional information, we utilized the income approach. And so the parcel at 2807 Mickelson Parkway, the land we believe would be $225,000, that would not change. But the improvements, 1,685,400 for a total of 1,910,400, where the original was 2,281,600. And then the property at 2800 Mickelson Parkway, that one we believe the land would be 675,000, improvements 5,056,000 for a total of 5,731,000, which the original was 6,844,700. So we had created a stipulation requesting or asking the tax rep for these properties if he would be in agreement. And as I understand it, he had a conversation with Attorney Seibel and said he would let the board know when he came today. So we prepped very quickly in the last 2 hours so we could present either way, whichever the decision was.
Okay. Mr. Kohlenberg, you've heard the assessor's rendition. Can you shed some light on what your position is on this case?
Yes. Well, I'm glad you called Seminole first. And I'd like to point out to the board that last night at about 11 o'clock p.m., I received an email with the stipulation. This morning, I had reached out to my client and to my attorney to discuss the stipulation. There's not much time. I got it at 11 o'clock at night. I actually got home at 1:30 and started working on it first thing this morning. So I'm just going to state that there was not enough time to discuss the stipulation with my client after discussing it with my attorney. And I'd also like to point out that I understand the circumstances at play here, that there were issues with Craig being ill and personal issues with Attorney Seibel that made these delays happen. And I understand it, and I recognize that. I'd also like to point out that this is not the exception, this is the rule. So when I received the subpoena, it was clear to everybody at the board that I would be out of the country. So instead of having the standard 10-day opportunity to review the subpoena and any objections that I had to be able to go to a judge and ask for the subpoena and the contents to be covered under a confidentiality agreement, that right was stripped by my client. Stripped from my client, and I'll explain why. That's because if we didn't produce the documents in the subpoena, we would be in non-compliance. Instead of having 10 days to go before a judge, we had no time. So we either produce the documents or we don't. I produced documents with a confidentiality request. The response from the city assessor was, under state statute, they're bound to confidentiality. But that wasn't what I was seeking. Once again, it was an answer to a question that was not asked. I asked for confidentiality.
Please get to the issue.
I
I
am.
understand you don't agree with the assessor's procedures, but get to the issue.
I'm getting there. The point is, I had 4 days to comply with the subpoena. After I made the presentation of the subpoena, they then gave me 2 days to supply with the new subpoena request. Again, substantially less than the 10 days required to do an objection to a judge. The financial statements that she referred to were supplied 8 days ago. At 11 o'clock last night, I get the email. At 11 o'clock this morning, I get a call from Attorney Seibel asking, have I made a decision? So, with regard to Seminole, the decision is yes, I will sign the stipulation, and I have prepared amended waivers for Seminole.
Thank you. So the record is clear. There are 2 parcels you're recommending. You accept the adjustments, which are $2,800 Mickelson Parkway, 2807 Mickelson Parkway. Parcel numbers 0609-091-9615-0. Parcel number 0609-091-9645-4. Is that correct?
Can you repeat that, please?
You're accepting the adjusted values presented by the assessor in stipulation today in front of this board for the 2 parcels at 2800 Mickelson Parkway and 2807 Mickelson Parkway, for which the parcel numbers I just read.
Yes, with the caveat that it's clearly understood, I preserve my right to appeal to circuit court as stated in the stipulations.
The waivers, I believe, are attached to your materials here. I believe. I haven't checked. Yep, there is a request for waiver attached.
So do you have a signed copy for Mr. Kohlenberg for the stipulation?
I do not.
But the original waiver would have to be amended.
Yep, so we don't have any of that documentation.
Okay.
So I just want to make sure that that gets amended, because we do not have a signed copy of a stipulation or amended waiver at this point in time. I do not.
I have it here, Chairman.
Okay. Would you please present it to the clerk? Okay, I wrote down the numbers.
Amy, do you have copies as well? Amy, do you have copies of these as well?
I don't think so.
Seibel signed, but not that Mr. Kohlenberg signed, or a revised waiver. So I've not seen that, if he signed it. I can give you, why don't I give you a copy of the one that we sent him? Just want to make sure it's the same documents, I guess.
Mr. Kohlenberg,
Yes.
I'm going to have the clerk present this document we got from the assessor to you. I'd like you to sign it in our presence so that we can all be assured that this is the original document that will be part of the record.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Can I see the one that I gave? Oh, I'm sorry. Disregard.
It should be identical, but I just want to make sure that we're all in agreement that the documents we're signing are accurate and the same, so that we're good on the record.
Just one second. I just want to go through what I received and what I'm signing.
Signed. We're going to take a 10-minute recess so that the clerk can make sure that copies are provided to all parties, and signatures have been affixed in the right lines, and all the i's have been dotted, and the t's have been crossed. So thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, for your efforts in this process. We have copies now that have been signed and distributed, so everyone should have a copy of the motion, the stipulation motion. So I have in front of me a copy of the stipulation that was submitted and signed by all parties. We need an action to accept this motion, the stipulated values.
Can I question? We have two agenda items. Each agenda item has two parts. Is that correct? So we have the stipulated values on each, and then we have the waiver to circuit court for each part, correct?
That's correct.
And are we going to vote on those individually for each one, or are we going to try to group them?
Try to group them.
Okay. So we're going to group the stipulated values for two properties now.
Stipulation on the two parcels based on the values that were submitted by the assessor.
Right. So you need a motion.
Is that a motion by Rich?
Okay, I'll move. I move we accept the stipulated values for the properties Seminole Creek, 2807 Mickelson Parkway, parcel 0609-091-9615-0.
I'll second the motion.
And the second property being Seminole Creek, 2800 Mickelson Parkway, parcel 0609-091-9645-4.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
This is separate from the waiver. We have to approve that too.
That's correct. Waiver will be next.
Okay?
Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Let the record note, we have a unanimous decision. And the clerk should have copies of the signed documents so that everybody is on the same page with the dollar amounts in the stipulation. Second thing we need to do is waiver request. I have in front of me a copy of the waiver request. And it was noted, as we looked at the waiver request, that the taxpayer's assessment as established does not represent the stipulated value. So I have written it in, the stipulated value from the document we just approved in our motion, and noted that it was stipulated at the 10/12/22 Board of Review. Both of these have been identified as with the values in the stipulation and identified then on the waiver request. Mr. Kohlenberg?
On the amended waivers that I gave you, I had changed the value of my opinion of value, incorrectly changing the wrong value. Instead of changing the assessor's value, I changed mine. I'd like my value to be changed back to the original value.
Okay.
Point of clarification here, could somebody explain to me what we're doing here now? So,
Waiving it to circuit court, but we got to have the correct values on the documents.
so we have an agreed value here right now between the two parties or no?
Revised value.
Revised value. So that doesn't mean the two parties have agreed to it like we did with the previous property on Bowman.
No, by Mr. Kohlenberg signing that stipulation and the attorney for the assessor, that would be an agreed value, and the board is agreeing to change the roll to that new value for both of those parcels. So the waiver form was originally submitted with the original assessed value, but now the board has agreed to alter the value in the roll without having a hearing to the new value. So now that waiver would include the new assessed value, but as I understand it, the original opinion of value that's on the objection form should appear on that waiver form. It should not have been changed either. So it should just be the stipulated value, and then that same value that matches the objection form should appear on that waiver form.
So does the taxpayer's representative agree to the revised value?
He signed the stipulation,
Which,
which you, I believe, all have a copy of. And by signing that, they're agreeing to the stipulated value.
but they still have the right to go to circuit court.
Correct. Now, the waiver is allowing them the right to go to circuit court because they're not getting an actual hearing. The board is agreeing to waive it directly to circuit court based on that stipulated value.
So let the record note that on this waiver,
Tracy,
the original value,
oh, got it.
make sure I'm looking at the right address. 2800 Mickelson Parkway was originally, the opinion of value of the taxpayer's representative was $4,550,100. That is the amount that I have entered as original opinion of value on the waiver form that we'll be reviewing. On the second one, which is for 2807 Mickelson Parkway, the original opinion of value was $1,516,700. The stipulated value had been entered. I've crossed that out and entered the original value in my handwriting on the document. This is the document we will then have as part of the official record, so that if Mr. Kohlenberg wants a copy, he can certainly get one. so that he can then review it and make sure that the values that he submitted on the original are still correct and current. And I took them from copies of the original waiver that you submitted. So step 2 in this process is the waivers that have been presented to us. And in our due diligence of review, thank you for everyone who helped. We now have waivers for these 2 properties that represent the stipulated value that we just voted on from the assessor, and all parties have signed on it. And an adjustment was also made to reflect the original opinion of value that was submitted to us in our objection forms at the beginning of our board of review process. So I now have in front of me 2 waivers, one for 2807 and one for 2800 Mickelson Parkway. I'd ascertain a motion to accept these waivers so that they can, if desired, they can be used to help.
I'll make 2 separate motions, Mr. Chair, so we're clean here.
Okay?
Motion to stipulate the waiver to Circuit Court for item 4B, Seminole Creek LLC, 2807 Mickelson Parkway, parcel 06090919615-0.
I have a motion and a second.
I second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to stipulate a waiver to Circuit Court for item 4, agenda item 4C, Seminole Creek LLC, 2800 Mickelson Parkway, parcel 0609-091-9645-4.
We have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Let the record note that both waivers, as amended, have been approved by the board.
Can I ask one thing, just for my records or notes? What was the stipulated value of the second? Was it $5,731,000
That's correct.
and what? 000? Okay, thank you.
Don't mix them up on you. Clerk is making copies of those, so at this point, I'll then ask the assessor if they had opportunity to review the materials that were requested in our subpoena regarding the Gold Leaf Fitchburg properties both at North Park Lane and Aurora Avenue.
Yes, we have reviewed this information. This is very similar to what we just heard about with Seminole Creek. So these parcels, we reviewed the additional information. Based off of some of that additional information, it shed light on a value where we were requesting the board originally to amend the assessment in the roll. We created a stipulated agreement that we sent to Mr. Kohlenberg, and he had not, as of this morning, had not agreed to sign to that. He said he would let the board know when he arrived today. Would you like those values read into record? Or?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Identify the parcel number and the value
Correct.
adjustment.
Okay. So these properties are all owned by Gold Leaf Fitchburg LLC. There are 6 + 2 additional parcels. So the addresses are 2675 North Park Lane, Unit or building number 5. It's 71 apartments, parcel 0609-142-00012. 2685 North Park Lane, it's building number 4, 71 unit apartments, parcel 0609-142-00122. 2684 North Park Lane, building number 2, 71 apartment unit building, parcel 0609-142-00232. 2674 North Park Lane, building number 1, 61 apartments, parcel 0609-142-00342. 5170 Aurora Avenue, building number 3, it's a 71-unit apartments, parcel 0609-142-00452. And 5155 Aurora Avenue, building number 6, it's 158-unit apartments, parcel 0609-142-03062. Now there are 2 additional parcels that are assessed with 0609-142-03062, and they are 0609-142-03552 and 0609-142-03575-2. These are, you'll know them as the Addison Apartments. So they're where Lacey Road tees into Sain, and be the southwest corner there of that 4-way stop intersection. So I will go through each of these buildings is valued individually, except that last parcel that has 2 outlots included in that value. So I will read the original assessment for each of those into record.
Do you have a copy for me, please?
Pardon?
A copy for me,
Oh,
all?
yep, I can do a copy. We'll just give you a
Mr.
copy
Kohlenberg,
of
do you have
the,
a copy?
let's just take it off of here.
Mr. Kohlenberg, do you have a copy?
Of the,
Stipulation that was sent to you?
I do.
Okay.
Do you want to give it to him? And Andrew? Will you, on the back of each one of these?
Thank you.
Stipulated, if you want to just hand them a copy so they can all view it. Just pull that off. Just the last 2 sheets of the stipulated agreement.
Okay.
Of each one of these. Just one. You can grab this one. Here's another one. Tracy one. So you give Tracy and Mr. Kohlenberg a copy each.
Thank you, Craig.
All right, if everybody's got a copy, I will continue to read this because it's a lot of numbers. Okay. So in the stipulated agreement, the addresses are all listed under number 1.
This document was prepared by you and your team, right?
Correct.
Okay,
We
thank you.
prepared this document with the assistance of Attorney Seibel. Attorney Seibel has signed what's in front of you, but Mr. Kohlenberg has not as the agent for Gold Leaf LLC.
And he received this in a timely manner.
He received this last night, yep.
11 o'clock p.m.
Yep, we worked on it till 9. I left here at 9 p.m. last night, and then it went to Attorney Seibel, so. All right, so under number 2, 2675 North Park Lane, building number 5. The original assessment, land, 1065000. Improvements, 11477,200, for a total of 12,542,200. Under number 3, 2685 North Park Lane, building number 4, the original assessment, 1065, improvements, 11,477,200, for a total of 12,542,200. Under number 4, 2684 North Park Lane, building number 2, land, 1065,000, improvements, 11,477,200, for a total of 12,542,200. Number 5, 2674 North Park Lane, building number 1, original assessment, land, 1020,000, improvements, 11,328,100, for a total of 12,348,100. Number 6, 5170 Aurora Avenue, building number 3, the original assessment, land, 1065,000, improvements, 11,477,200, for a total of 12,542,200. Under number 7, 5155 Aurora Avenue, building number 6, land, 2,374,200, improvements, 22,584,400, for a total of 24,958,600. This parcel at 5155 Aurora also includes the parcel numbers 0609 142 03552 and 0609 142 03752. Those are both outlots, and they would be like the center way. This is a kind of like a U-shape building, 3 sections, and it's the interior courtyard parcel is one of them, and then alley, I believe, is the back one. So those are all the original assessments. Through the stipulation, we were asking the board to change and revise the 2022 assessments for 2675 North Park Lane, Building 5. Land remains the same at 1065,000. Improvements, 10,763,200, for a total of 11,828,200. Building number 4 at 2685 North Park Lane, land, 1065,000, improvements, 10,763,200, for a total of 11,828,200. Building number 2, 2684 North Park Lane, land, 1065,000, improvements, 10,763,200, for a total of 11,828,200. Building number 1, 2674 North Park Lane, land, 10,200,000, improvements, 10,308,500, for a total of 11,328,500. 5170 Aurora Avenue is building number 3, land, 1065,000, improvements, 10,763,200, for a total of 11,828,200. Building number 6 is 5155 Aurora Avenue, land, 2374,200, improvements, 24,167,900, for a total of 26,542,100. The 5154 Aurora Avenue again includes the parcels 0609 142 03552 and 0609 142 03752. So based on that additional information, we were requesting the board originally to change this to the stipulated values and to revise that assessment. As of the start of this, Mr. Kohlenberg had not signed this stipulated agreement between the assessor and the property owner.
Okay, thank you for the review. Mr. Kohlenberg, did you have an opportunity to discuss the situation with your client? I understand you got a short time frame last night, but I also wanted you to remember, we did that to help you. We could have dismissed these cases earlier. We honored your request and tried to give you a reasonable time. And I'm sorry if it got short, but it was because you had asked us to keep these at the end of our open period for review, and we did. So I understand you had a short period of time, but it was trying to honor your request and make things work with this board review. So please let us know your feelings.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members of the board. So this stipulation on the surface appears in all ways identical to the first stipulation that I signed, but it isn't. And so the first thing I'd like to do is seek some clarity from Attorney Seibel. May I ask Attorney Seibel a question?
Okay, if we're going to go that far, I need to have you sworn in. Again, we'd be on the record so that we make sure that all of our documentation is on the record.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you shall give in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Attorney Seibel, do you solemnly swear that the testimony you shall give in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please continue.
Thank you. My address is 345 River Bluff Circle, Oconomowoc. So I'm seeking clarity, as mentioned earlier, off the record. These two stipulations appear identical with the exception of the identity of the property and the values, but in fact, there is a substantial difference between the two. Attorney Seibel, are you advising the city assessor to accept this stipulation?
Yes, it's my understanding that it's identical to the stipulation that we previously covered for Emerald Creek, and it's also identical in the language of other stipulations that this board has already accepted regarding parcels that were represented by Eric Hatchell. So if there is something different, I am not aware of it because every effort was made to have the identical language in all the stipulations submitted to the board.
Okay, thank you. So my question is, are you advising the city assessor to accept the stipulations?
Yes, I signed it.
Thank you. And are you recommending that I sign the stipulation on behalf of my client?
That is not my call to make.
Are you advising the Board of Review to accept a fully executed stipulation?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. So the difference between these two stipulations is that although they look identical, there were reductions in the first stipulation for both tax keys, both properties. However, for this stipulation, they actually raised the assessed value. And what I'm asking the board to consider instead of this stipulation is to make the following change. I would like to modify the stipulation and reduce the property at 5155 Aurora Avenue, building number 6, by 5.69%, which is the identical percentage reduction on 2675 North Park Lane, 2685 North Park Lane, 2684 North Park Lane, and 5170 Aurora. So it would be consistent with the reductions on the other properties. What happened was the 5155 Aurora property actually went up by 6.34%. We didn't come here to have our assessments raised. We came here to have our assessments lowered. And it's reasonable to expect that, considering that all of the financials that were provided, all of the subpoena answers that we provided were all based on this apartment complex as a whole. To go through and raise one of the buildings, it's inconsistent. So I'd like to ask the board to lower building 5155 Aurora Avenue, building number 6, by 5.69%.
I'm going to ask Amy Mercer to respond and just give a little bit of background information. This property, although there are 6 tax parcel numbers, has been valued as a whole. The financial statements that were finally provided, even though they were requested going back to last January, they were finally provided just last week, were combined financial statements, combined income statement and balance sheet, and did not break it into the various different tax parcels. And so the valuation and the revaluation that the assessor conducted valued it as a whole, because we don't have individual information for each individual parcel. And so after coming up with a reduced value for for all 6 parcels, the assessor then last night allocated it amongst the various different buildings. So there wasn't an attempt to increase one of them and on the sly. It's just a matter of how the reduced value for the overall project was allocated by the assessor. And I will let her respond to how she undertook that effort.
Yes. Amy, Attorney Seibel explained that quite well. That's exactly.
Just for the record, we let the record note the assessor's been previously sworn.
So what we did is we used all of the income and expense that was provided through the subpoenaed information. And because it was not broken out per unit, it was a total for the entire project. And to do that, we came up with a total assessed value for all of these parcels included in here at $85,183,400. So based on the number of units per each apartment building, we took the land total out of that value, and the remaining total amount out of that value was the improvement total. And then we took that improvement total and then basically multiplied that per unit to get the improvement value per each unit. So the numbers that are listed in the stipulation are what those values then came out to be, to equal that total amount for the whole apartment building.
So the board is clear. You took the number of units in each building times the indicated value per unit, which was roughly 166,000, and multiplied that on each building based on the number of units to come up with this value, plus including the land value.
Correct. And then we would, because it comes out to an exact dollar and we round to the nearest 100, we then just rounded a couple up and a couple down. All of the buildings that were the exact same unit numbers, we use that exact same improvement total. So those that are all the 71-unit apartment buildings, there are 4 of them, they all had the exact same assessment on those buildings. And then we just balanced to equal that total amount within the apartment complex.
Does that, Mr. Kohlenberg, does that answer your question as to how this value has changed?
Just a moment, please. So what was the price per unit that you allocated for improvement?
Is this one right? you got my calculator? I just want to make sure I'm looking. We added lots of extra columns in here last night, and I want to make sure I explain it correctly to you. That's what it was, wasn't it? So I believe, if I'm looking at I believe the improvement per unit for the improvement portion was 151,594.71.
151,594.
0.71.
Just a moment, please.
So the original,
Just a moment, please. Yes, please continue.
so I was just going to say, the original total assessment for all of the partials was 87475,500, I believe. That's what my notes say here anyways.
So I have a question for you. You just stated that all of the units, let me rephrase that. I believe your calculation was you assessed the entire apartment complex as a whole. Is that correct?
You provided income and expense for the entire 510 units. And so we had to look at it for the entire 510 units based off of what was provided to us. The expenses were not broken out per unit, so we had to add up the entire income and the entire expenses to create a total assessed value for all of it. And based off of that, then we took and abstracted out the land value based off of that. We also subtracted off the values for the assessed with parcels for those amenities to get that total, then that improvement balance. And then we divided that improvement balance by that 510 units. And that gave us a per unit for the improvements. So then we took that improved value per unit and multiplied it by the number of units in each building to get that improvement portion for that building, plus the land value for that building to get that total assessment that's on the stipulation.
How much did you allocate to the two parcels in addition to the main parcel at 5155 Aurora?
What are you asking?
There are two parcels. You have an asterisk after building number 6. 5155 Aurora Avenue includes parcel 0609142035-2 and 0609142037-2. Those two tax keys, how much did you allocate in land value for those undeveloped parcels?
So, well, I wouldn't call them undeveloped parcels, first of all, because one is the entryway, so it's developed with it has a canopy on it, it has a swimming pool on it. So on that parcel, the land value, because it's considered an outlot, we value those at the land value for that smart code zoning, and then we give it a 99% discount, so it really is an outlot value. So the land value is at $2,900 for 0.489 acres of land. So it's very minimal to be added into that apartment. And then the improvements on that parcel was $215,900 for that swimming pool and canopy that are placed on that outlot parcel. And then the other outlot parcel, 609-142-0375-2, that allocated value on that parcel is a land value for 0.22 acres of $1,300. So very minimal value other than the amenities that are added for that swimming pool and that canopy.
Just a moment, please.
Well, Mr. Kohlenberg, you have to make a decision. Either you accept the stipulation or you don't.
I have a question for,
Sure.
can we speak? I have two questions, actually. One for Amy. Might this, in the future, be all grouped into one parcel, which would simplify this immensely? Or does this have to remain as 6 different parcels forever?
So as the assessor, each one of these parcels can be sold separately. Each one of these parcels, each one of the buildings, I'll say, was built independent of the other building. So each one has a different year built on them. In the last building, building number 6, which has 3 sections, that building was first completed in so that building was completed, let me just look here, in 2020 for the 2021's assessment roll. So these have been built at different times and could be sold separately. And that's why we do not assess them all together, because they have that right to sell them separately.
And then for us, this is 6 agenda items. This should be essentially 6 votes, which we could elect to combine or keep separate. But what, I mean, might it be possible, or what would happen if, let's just say, the agent were to agree to the stipulation for 5 of them, but not the 6th one? What would happen to that one then? Would that then revert back to what it was before the stipulated value? Or would that be something that could be argued? Or is this stipulated value, since we haven't agreed on it yet, isn't really on the books yet, so the value is still what it was prior to coming up at this number, correct?
The value that the assessor presented is a stipulated value. If someone's going to change it, it does not mean we will no longer accept that
Well, we haven't
stipulated
changed.
value.
No,
I'm saying he has to sign this. If he does not sign it,
Yeah.
then we're going to have a hearing on it, all of these, and each one would be heard separately. Is that correct, Attorney Seibel?
Or we could waive it to court if that was the other determination. We have 2 options. If he does not accept this, we can then
Well, no, my
back to the original.
Rich's question is, does he have to accept all 6?
All 6, or can he say, I'm good with 5, but I don't agree with
It's
this?
one stipulation, it's all or nothing.
Even
Yeah.
though there's 6 different agenda
I know
items?
there's 6 different agenda items.
We
That's
have,
one stipulation.
yeah, the assessor's office has presented one stipulation to Mr. Kohlenberg. If he does not agree to that stipulation, then we're no longer going to agree to it.
So it's all or none, okay.
Yep, because we calculated with the best information available. If he chooses not to, then the board can choose to hear the hearing or waive it to circuit court.
Okay.
Mr. Kohlenberg?
And I might
I'd like
just
to,
add-
I'd like to comment on Amy's response. And
One
most
moment.
importantly,
Let me just make-
excuse me, I'm talking. So I'd also like to respond to Rich. So, Rich, that was actually the very second item I was going to bring up. So the first one was a request to reduce the assessment of the property at 5155 Aurora by the same amount as the others, which is 5.69%. And I understand that's a big struggle for the board. What I would like to recommend is this. Clearly, the board has the authority to sign or not sign the stipulation, as do I. This is not the assessor's signature that's necessarily required, but it is between the board and myself. And so you can make an independent decision. That's number one. Number
But that,
two.
I would disagree with that.
I get it,
because
except I'm talking and I didn't
we
interrupt
gave-
you.
We gave you
I didn't interrupt you. You can wait till I'm done, Amy.
a stipulated agreement that we were in agreement to.
Mr. Chairman,
If
can I
you're going
just
to
finish my
change
content
this-
before she starts talking over me?
Let's end this, please.
Okay, I'd like to finish my response to the board member, Rich Tate. So what I would,
I think we've responded.
I haven't.
He
I
didn't
was
ask a
interrupted.
question of
I
you.
have, sir. It's my responsibility to keep this meeting. He asked a question on procedure, I responded. It's one, and it can only be one. You either accept it or you don't accept it.
I understand. However, that is not accurate, and I'd like to give my opinion to Mr. Tate so that the board can make an independent
Are
decision.
you an attorney?
I don't have to be. I can
Well,
be
I wa-
here.
I want to have legal counsel who's sitting here. If you're
Okay.
trying to give an opinion, I want my attorney to tell me whether or not it's appropriate
I understand. I'd like to finish my comment.
after I talk to my attorney, the board's attorney, not Amy Seibel, Valerie. She's our attorney as the board. Okay?
I understand.
Okay, so we're at a point where we need discussion. We're going to take a short break, and I'm going to discuss with Valerie the proper procedure to continue.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay? Thank you. We're in a recess for 10 minutes or however long it takes to discuss this with. We are back on the record. This is one of those days when I'm very glad our city attorney was available. And as we got to a point in procedure, she was able to provide good clarification as to what we can and can't do. So for the record, I will summarize what we are going to do. We have a stipulation in front of us. You either accept it or you don't. If you don't, that's your choice. I'm talking now specifically to Mr. Kohlenberg because we have a stipulation that was prepared and signed through the assessor's office. If you don't want the stipulation or adjusted values, we then move to the next option we have, which is we hear the case, or if the assessor staff is of agreement, we could waive to the circuit court. So those are our options at this point. First, we either accept the stipulation with the waiver if so desired, so you can continue your appeal if you so desire, or we step back, we open the hearing, and we conduct a formal hearing on the parcels to determine the correct value so the board can then make an informed decision as to what the value should be for the property. Third option, as I mentioned, would be, if that's not feasible, would be to move it on through stipulation or through waiver to the circuit court. So is everybody clear on what we can do and can't do?
It's an all or nothing deal.
It's all or nothing,
I'm clear.
okay? So, Mr. Kohlenberg, are you going to sign the stipulation?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Hearing that, I will ask,
I would be honored to read into the record all of the motions, if you wouldn't mind, just so we get it done right. Is that,
well, let's get the stipulation signed first.
okay?
We'll take care of a little bit of paperwork. And once that paperwork is done,
Then we'll let her rip.
then we can go on the record and make sure that all the proper information is a part of the official record. So again, I'm going to recess the board for whatever time it takes to get the documentation and copies, so all parties prepared, so that we can then come back on the record and take the next step in this appeal. Action in front of us is to accept or to vote on the stipulation that's been presented by the city assessor in conjunction with her attorney and recently signed by the taxpayer's representative. It has been read into the record already by the city assessor, but to make sure we're all on the same page, I will read into the record, or we can read into the record, I'm not sure who has to do it, the adjusted values as provided in the stipulation. We are talking about the properties located at 26, oh, it is on. Talking about the properties located at 2675, 2685, 2684, 2674 North Park Lane. Also, 5170 Aurora Avenue and 5155 Aurora Avenue, all in the city of Fitchburg, owned and operated by Gold Leaf Development. In review of the information that was provided under subpoena, the city assessor has provided new values based on that information, updated information, in a stipulation that has been signed by all parties present today. First, 2675 North Park Lane. Total value to be added to the roll, $11,828,200. 2685 North Park Lane, $11,828,200. 2684 North Park Lane. Adjusted value to be shown in the roll, $11,828,200. 2674 North Park Lane, $11,328,500. 5170 Aurora Avenue, $11,828,200. 5155 Aurora Avenue, $26,542,100. So these are the values as stipulated and agreed to by all parties. I'd ascertain a motion to accept the stipulation as presented.
Mr. Chair, I will happily make a motion to accept the stipulation values for agenda items 4D, E, F, G, H, and I.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, let the record show the motion carries unanimously. I'd like to thank the parties. I understand time constraints and diligence was a challenge, but everybody got the materials they needed and wanted, and I appreciate the efforts that everybody put in to try and make this the best possible outcome we could. So with that, I say thank you.
What do we have?
We move on to the next element, which is the waiver. I have in front of me 6 objection waivers.
Mr. Chair, Attorney Sussman, is it best to do this together, or should we do it separately, each motion?
I think we should do them all separately since they have, I mean, some of them have the exact same value, but they are separate parcels.
All right, I will start the roll call here. Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we accept a resolution for waiver of item 4D, Gold Leaf, Fitchburg, 2675 North Park Lane, parcel 0609-142-0001-2.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we accept the waiver for agenda item 4E, Gold Leaf Fitchburg, 2685 North Park Lane, parcel 0609-142-0012-2.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we accept the waiver for agenda item 4F, Gold Leaf Fitchburg, 2684 North Park Lane, parcel 0609-142-0023-2.
I have a motion, and do I have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Mr. Chair, I offer a motion to accept the waiver for agenda item 4G, Gold Leaf Fitchburg, 2674 North Park Lane, parcels 0609-142-0034-2.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Mr. Chair, I offer a motion to accept the waiver for agenda item 4H, Gold Leaf Fitchburg, 5170 Aurora Avenue, parcel 0609-142-0045-2.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And Mr. Chair, I will happily accept a waiver motion for agenda item 4I, Gold Leaf Fitchburg, 5155 Aurora Avenue, parcel 0609-142-0306-2.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? We do. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I want the record to note before we make this the official document, that's before I sign them, that there have been some corrections made. As asked by the taxpayer's representative, the owner's property value, opinion of property value has been identified as the original value on the objection forms. Also, I checked to make sure that the stipulated values that were submitted and agreed to were also correct on these waiver forms. So there are some handwritten notes on here indicating that it's either a stipulated value or modified at board of review to the original value. So that should show on any copies that people ask for if they're in need of them. Those are my notes made today and identified as being done today on 10/12/22. With that, I will sign the waiver form so that all copies can be prepared and distributed. And since that's a very short issue, I would like to look at item 6 on our agenda. Consider new business and any other scheduling or activities the board needs to complete today. Madam Clerk, is there any other objections or information we need to consider?
No, sir, there's not.
Before we adjourn, Mr. Chair, I'd like to say something. I just want to thank everyone here, especially the assessing staff. It's my first time through rodeo, Attorney Seibel, our city attorney, even many of the taxpayers' representatives here and fellow committee members. But I have sat on a lot of City of Fitchburg meetings, and I've known this man for 15 years through the Fitchburg Lions Club and through friendship, but Mike Couillard as chair is one of the most impressive things I have seen. He's fair, and I really appreciate, and I hope the people of this city appreciate how lucky you are to have someone who runs a meeting and understands the context and the concepts as well as you do. So, Mr. Chair, thank you for guiding this committee over the last 6 weeks. I really appreciate that.
I agree wholeheartedly.
And with that, I'll make a motion for
And
this.
I'll agree too.
All right.
I
With-
had one.
Go ahead, Rich.
We have some vacancies here, and I know that sometimes the best way to fill a vacancy is for us to talk to friends who are like-minded and maybe see if they'd be interested. So I'd hate to see us whittle down to the point where we can't conduct business because we don't have anybody sitting here, so.
Well, Mike can never leave this committee. I just want you
No,
to know
we've got super glue in the seat, so.
No, you are correct, though, Rich. This has been an incredible experience. Andrew, your professionalism, and thank you for hanging in there with us. Like I said, I've seen a lot of Fitchburg meetings and have sat through a lot and seen a lot of chaos. This was phenomenal. So, Mr. Chair, I'll defer to you to close it up.
I thank you for that, and I too would like to share my thanks. We did run a board review this year that went much longer than normal or typical, and your devotion to the city and getting this done is very much appreciated. I know it's not for the love of money, it's for the devotion to your community, so thank you all very much for sitting through this and helping come to conclusions on cases. Some of them were very straightforward, others that challenged us to think through what we could do and try to do the best we could for all parties involved. Hearing no other business before us, I will make a motion that we adjourn the 2022 City of Fitchburg Board of Review, sign a die.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Madam Clerk, please let the record note we're in adjournment.
Thank you.